3-1 is one of these scary, I feel like I've said this for too many levels at this point, but 3-1 is actually a pretty scary level, and it's all about this first jump here. So the beginning of it is kind of whatever, but this particular jump around these Goombas right there is the scariest thing ever. After that point, the level's pretty clear, where just I have my pattern, I have where I want to jump, and I stick to it, and you're good to go. You can get to the top of this staircase if you jump well, but if you don't jump well, you don't, and it's kind of just fine. Once you get past those Goombas, everything starts to feel a little bit better. So let's sort of go through and watch how that Goomba jump works. Oh hey Arptem, good to see you. Cool, so the main thing I'm trying to do is line up, and we'll drop it into slow-mo again. Oh, we're good. We don't need to go, well, let's go super slow-mo, see what that feels like. So the main thing for me is trying to land early on this platform, because that's how I can get a full jump up to this Goomba and actually land on its head. The main thing you're worried about is landing short, or landing too slow. So let me rephrase that. So basically, there's a couple ways you can die to this Goomba. You can jump too early or too short and run into its face, or you can jump too late and run up underneath it and run into its toes. Both of those kill you. So that's why I do the jump there. But you can see even from the slow-mo, like I barely make that jump. So that's why this one's so scary. There's alternate strats as well where you go off for jumping off of the second Goomba. But just basically the beginning part of this is a mess. Practice just the beginning if you can, because that's really the difficult part. The rest of the level ends up again being pretty straightforward. I'll call it more of my jump spots. I aim for getting on top of this platform here. It's pretty easy to do. From there, you're aiming to get from this block all the way into in between these two enemies. You want to land before that Goomba. And then here's the other tricky one where you want to realistically, you want to land on the rightmost edge of this platform and then jump as soon as possible, but you do have a little bit of wiggle room. Please, game. So as long as you land kind of cleanly, you're fine. And then since this is moving left, optimally, you'd want to jump first frame, but like honestly, if you're doing any percent, don't worry about that. You also don't need to worry about it for the IL. The main thing you're trying to do is just clear this gap. So if you jump too early off of this, or if you miss the jump, you will fall down and die. So this is the second biggest hurdle in this level. It's just basically nothing compared to those Goombas. From there, you can do whatever jump pattern you like. I like to jump here, and then on this last platform, you do want to land pretty close to the right and jump off of almost the rightmost edge. If you were watching that in that clip, I jumped basically off the right edge, and that's because you want to make it all the way to the top of this blocky staircase here. If you miss this jump, you'll usually land on this block, and that's fine, you just jump up, but it is a time loss, so if you can jump from the rightmost edge, you're fine. If you do miss and fall down here, you're still okay, you just climb back up the stairs. Stairs of shame, I guess, but you're good to go. And then again, in the IL, I get the 1-up. Please don't get 1-ups in the real run. This is slow. If Mario is above the flag when the flag hits the ending, you've lost time. So in the actual run, I do not get the 1-up. So let's take a look at this one from the level itself once again. Core spot. Oh, I need to be drinking tea. Let me do that real quick. While we're waiting for this to load. Yep. Please override. Okay. So the beginning is just the worst. So really, again, I'm just trying to make sure I hit left side so I hit off of that Goomba. But let's show it again a couple different ways. Sorry, I keep getting stuff on here. This is like, my computer is relatively close to where my bunnies are, and that's why it's a problem. So if I were to jump too late, I would jump up into that Goomba. I was slightly invincible from the editor, which is why that looked weird. And if I jump too early, I'll land on the platform in front of him. So if I like somehow magically jump this too early, oh sorry, or not like that, but you can actually jump around. That's kind of how you get to that second Goomba. But that's the other thing I can do wrong, is if I hold jump for too long and miss this first one, I can run into the second one. So this beginning definitely takes some practice. Would recommend just practicing it. Oh, I thought I hit play. Would recommend just practicing it on its own if you're serious about running this, just because you will die here a lot when you're starting. But then again, from here, pretty straightforward. Just want to jump over everything. You can jump pretty safely from these platforms. So you'll notice I took a lot of time on there. Almost not die of that. You don't have to take these super quickly if you don't want to, especially for any percent. Then the ending of this level, just again, whatever jump patterns work for you. You just want to be getting off of here. So you'll notice that I stayed on this and like jumped only when I was at the right side. That's kind of what you're aiming to do. The longer you spend on here while it's moving to the left though, the slower it's going to be, just because Mario is trying to fight the momentum of that platform. Then again, if you land here, it's fine. If you land down here, it's also fine. Just get up. And then you'll notice that I only do a tap jump when I'm doing any percent, because again, I want to hit the flagpole low. Hitting the flagpole at the 1-up or too high will lose you time. So besides the Goomba jump, this level's pretty straightforward. It's just that one Goomba jump that makes it really terrifying and one of my most common spots to die. Back to YouTube. Alright. 3-2 is also not too bad if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, 3-2 is super fun. So 3-2 is entirely a run and jump level where you don't need to slow down. All I have are specific ground IQs as to where I want to jump, and I'm good to go. You could do whatever the heck you want on this level as long as you don't slow down, so feel free to pick your own stylish route. For example, at the end, you can just jump around these enemies, but I find it more fun to try to jump on top of them because I thought it looked cool. Like, that's it. That's the whole level. So going through and showing like where my cues are for this, for this one, it's the second half of this block. So you notice these old buildings in the background? I'm trying to jump when Mario's on the second half of this window, and if I just hold A, or hold the jump button, he'll hit this block here, and then he'll just bounce off of these enemies in sequence. Like, you don't even... Oh, I think I drop it for the second one, but you don't really have to do too much for that beginning part. Again, this one's all about setting up this particular corner for me. And it's a little bit of a dangerous trap, but it's fine. This next one, I'm jumping when Mario is at the end of this window, so I'm looking for sort of this block, where it's past the windows, but we're not yet back into the open sky. And if you just hold the jump button for this one, you will jump off of that first Koopa and the second one, no problem. The next jump cue is this tree right here. If you jump while you're in the middle of the tree, Mario will always make it onto this mini hallway section without bonking into anything. So jumping back in time a little bit so you can see that. We'll do it from here so you can actually see it as it runs up. So jumping from the middle of the tree, you land on this section. I then jump from this last block. That will dodge the leaf. You do not want to get this leaf. Leaf power-ups are slow. You lose half a second if you get this. It's not like it's the end of the world, but you want to dodge it. So if you jump from here and do a full jump, you'll always cut this corner and dodge this leaf. From here, I just sort of run down the waterfall. I think this is supposed to be a waterfall, and then I jump from the middle of the waterfall. So just about the middle is where I jump to land on this particular Goomba. Again, you do not have to follow this jump route. Do whatever the heck you feel like, but land on this Goomba. And then it's this first vine on the second half of the second tree is where I jump again to land on the next Goomba. And then I believe it's the second vine of this tree is the next jump cue in order to land on this Goomba. But you just to see that, like, again, fast motion. Center, this vine, and then this vine. And then when you get to the ending, it's just sort of whatever. I usually jump from about here, like the middle of that last hill, when I get to endings in this particular style, but you can do whatever. Yeah, there's not even anything I think we need to see an editor for that one. It really is that straightforward. This is one of the best levels to learn if you're just getting started, because there's nothing too complicated about it. Excellent one to learn. Let's just move on to 3-3. So 3-3 gets a little bit trickier. We'll actually see that I think there should be two, yeah, there's two versions of this level that you'll see. The first one is for the aisle, the second one is for real time. And the difference is the subworld. So the first part of the level is just dodging things, but for the IL, you want to go into this pipe and then cut this corner. So you don't want to hit right away, you want to hit it a little bit late to cut that corner. And that skips barely anything in the level, but it does skip something. Now we're back to both routes. You want to get this star, Mario moves way faster with the star, and then it's just about not slowing down in the second part. That's one of the trickier jumps to get, but you will be able to get it. So that's the 283, that is the IL strat. We're now going to go look at the any percent route, and that just avoids the subworld, and it's because the subworld doesn't save time in real time. So the same beginning, but instead of going down that pipe, we're instead going to go through the level, and we get right back to this bridge. So you can see how that's faster real time than the other one. But then the ending is the same, just get the star and blast on through the rest of this level. I have some jump cues for this, so we'll go through this a little bit slower too. The only thing I'll note for the subworld is that, again, you do not want to be holding right when you get out of the pipe, because you'll bonk off of this corner. So I actually don't start holding right until I think, I don't remember exactly where my cue is, I haven't done the IL in a while, but find yourself a cue along one of these like coins on where you want to hold right and start Mario moving to the right, so you cut this corner closely without actually bonking into it. So you'll notice I fell pretty far straight down until I started to move right, just so I don't hit this corner. That will slow you down. If you are practicing the IL and any percent separately as well, just be warned, this jump feels different, because if you're coming out of the pipe with no momentum, the Goombas will be in a slightly different spot than they would be for any percent, just because they have more time to walk toward you as you're slowly jumping up and building up your speed. But the main parts of this I'll just show off of the any percent route, since that's what I think the main focus of today is going to be. So The cool thing about the beginning of this level is if you are starting to run, you'll notice the level just started and I'm already running as Mario. If you are holding right and run at the start of this level, oh, come on, you will always dodge underneath these first pair of Koopas, like these bouncing Koopas. If you do not, if you hesitate to press right and run at the start of this level, do not try to run under that enemy. You know, we'll switch to, I'll show it when we get to demo, but you will definitely run into them. So my route is to jump then through this gap, and then off of this platform I'm aiming for this pipe. Come on, game. From there I'm going to land on the Goombas. So through this gap, onto this pipe, and then I'm trying to land on these Goombas, just because I feel like that was the most consistent thing for me, but again, do whatever you'd like here. By holding A a little bit as I bounce off of them, I'll land on this pipe. So I'm not not holding A, and I'm not holding A long enough to like bonk into this, but just a little bit to get on top of this pipe. That will let me run down, and when I fall off of this pipe, you'll always hit the Koopa. And then as I'm falling, I'll hit A again, so that I don't jump in midair, but when I jump off of this Koopa, I'll get a little bit of extra height so I can land on this particular pipe. And again, when I show this, hopefully with my hands on screen, it'll make a little more sense. So these are both partial bounces off of enemies, getting up to this platform. Dying to these three Goombas is pretty common, so just be ready to do that jump over the top of their heads. It's a little bit tricky to get used to, but once you have it, it's not too bad. And then from here, the goal is to get the star as quickly as possible. So you want to land on this platform, and you need to jump from the right edge of it. Otherwise, Mario will land or bonk into this block sideways as opposed to coming up from below. So you don't want to do this, you want to do this. Once the star is coming out, you can do whatever you'd like to wait for it. What works for me is jumping off of both of these Goombas with full bounces, and that lines me up pretty well to get the star as soon as I possibly can. It's faster to slow down a little bit here if you don't have like a super great star grab, so you don't bonk into this pipe, because you want to preserve your momentum if possible. But you jump over the pipe. You want to jump in between these two platforms. That's the goal here. And then you jump off of, come on, YouTube, why? I'm going too fast for YouTube. Jump off of the middle of those platforms and jump over that staircase. So that's sort of that sequence of jumps there. Now from here, again, you can do whatever, but what I'm doing is I'm getting onto this platform and then trying to land on this block. Now this block is surprisingly difficult to jump off of when you're going faster. So as Mario's going faster, there's less time for you to jump off of this block. But if you get it correctly, then you'll be able to go to the top of the staircase. You don't quite land on the top platform, but it means you only have to do one extra jump to get there. Here's where you'll see Mario turn back, and that's so that I can get around this and sort of rebuild up my momentum. Because if I just kept holding right, I'd keep mashing my face into this, and my jump would go very straight up, as opposed to here I can curve it around and get more of that momentum. Now you can do whatever you want. You can jump from here, you can jump off the top. Again though, you'll want to be below the flag when you're doing any percent. You do not want to be at the top of it. So there we go, that's the jump pattern for this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those trickier spots. Use this as my T transition time again. Cool, so here's what, just to show you the beginning. If you miss holding right by just a little bit, you die to that Koopa every single time. Like, I'm only barely forgetting to tap. It's like just a small delay. That's enough for that Koopa to hit you. However, again, if you, and I'll do the select version real quick just so that I'm actually starting from the beginning. If I'm holding right and run from the beginning, I'll always miss it. It's just really precise. Oh, see, there's a risk. So we'll start from the beginning again. I'll wait a little bit for this Koopa. Basically, if you're slow, just jump over him instead, and then you can take this a little bit slower. So here's where I'm holding A, and then I'm starting to hold A early. You can actually start holding A before you even hit this platform. So I can start holding A as soon as I jump off of these and here, and that will always work. That timing was hilarious. Sorry, let's do that again. Because as long as you're not on the ground, you can start holding A basically whenever the heck you want to. So again, here's what this looks like. I'm like trying to focus too hard on it, and so I'm messing up a little bit. Let's start from the beginning again. But yeah, just a couple partial bounces is like my strat for that section. Here we go. Oh. Well, there's another thing to watch out for. If you're too slow in the beginning, there are piranha plants in this level, so watch out for those. Awesome. So here, I'm doing that partial jump. God, I can't do this and talk at the same time. I didn't realize that this was a tricky thing to like explain, but we'll try it again. This time I'll try to do it correctly. So basically I'm jumping off of here, yeah, partial bounce, partial bounce there is what I'm trying to land. One more try for me, and this time I'm not going to talk and just try to actually show off the gameplay. Talking is not working. Here we go. I still can't show off the gameplay. There we go. Okay. So hopefully on screen my thumbs were visible. You could see when I did those taps. And it's like while I'm in midair is when I start to hold down A, just so that as soon as I land on those Koopas, I know I've got the A button, or the jump button held down. So from here, jump over these, and then again, you want to be on the right side. You want to be on the right side of this platform. So let's take a look at this platform real quick. So if you jump from too far to the side, this is what's going to happen just over and over again, and you don't want that to be the case. So you really do need to jump right from the corner, and you usually do fall down. You can do whatever the heck you want again while you're waiting for this star, just as long as you eventually get it. From here, you want to be running through everything. Whee! Like this part, whatever you want to do. I usually jump at the Goom or the Koopa there once I kill it, is how I aim for this platform, and you'll see that there I missed. I didn't quite make the jump. It is tricky to make sure you jump. I usually jump too late for it if I miss anything. So let's go back to, just go back to here. Please play. We'll do this again. There's a one up here for some reason you need it. So from here, I usually have to hold back. Here's a star. Jumping through the middle, over the top, and then I'll jump when I hit the Koopa. I still missed it, but if you miss it, the good news is you just sort of climb up the stairs normally. You don't lose all that much time. So that's really that one. It's mostly trying to jump off of this, and again, I usually miss it late, but you got to see it as part of the IL. And then, as much as this, I made this look complicated, it's really not. And then again, getting this star is one of the most important things. And then just one more reminder for everyone, as long as you're holding right and run as the level starts, you will always make it underneath this Koopa. If you are even a fraction of a second late, do not try to run under this Koopa, you'll die every time. So that's the big PSA for that level. Alright, cool. Let's go back to 4-3-4. Oh, 3-4 is a mess. Alright. So 3-4 is the first time we actually hit an auto-scroller in this game, which is super exciting. I know, thrilling, everyone's favorite. And basically, there's a couple things to keep in mind on this one. The first one is you can get safety mushrooms. That's just a nice thing to do. But the thing I'll call out soon is you'll notice I'm staying on the left side of the screen. That's because the, what are they called? Well, Lakitus will always throw things toward you if they're enemies. And for weird mushrooms, they always throw them away from you because weird mushrooms just are backwards. But going back one more time, that's why I'm staying over here. It's because then the fireballs are going left and then they leave the screen right away. If they throw them to the right, they tend to bounce around and stick in your way. So just staying on the left side of the screen is the biggest thing here. The next thing I'm looking at is I'm actually watching this gap coming up because that's going to be my cue for when to run. So I'm watching for that gap, and when it's closest to the center of the screen is when I make my move. You'll notice that's when I started to run all the way to the right because you want to get to this pipe here as soon as possible. So I use this lava pool as a cue for when this is going to be on screen, and I time my run so that that's when I get to this side of the screen. You don't want to get to the side of the screen early. Again, you want to be on the left so that these fireballs are going the right way, or the left way, I guess, which is the faster way. It just gets them out of your way sooner. But that's how I time this particular section, is looking for that middle one. Second half, more of the same. I personally don't get the weird mushroom in the first half, just because the weird mushroom has different jump heights and that throws me off and I don't like it. But I will usually get a mushroom here in any percent. So normally for any percent, I will actually grab this mushroom when it comes out. Most of the time, the first thing that comes out of any Lakitu is this particular mushroom, and if you're closer to the left side of the screen, you'll grab it. And it's purely for safety. You do not need this one, but these fire patterns can get pretty mean. For the IL, I wanted to show off, so I didn't get it because I wanted to do it without having to take damage. But once again, you'll notice I'm hanging on this left side of the screen, so all these fireballs are going to the left. This is much less chaotic than if they go to the right, I promise. Once again, the middle for this particular box, so once again I've got a cue for when I want to go to the right, and it's when this particular gap this time is in the middle of the screen. That's when I'll take off and start running to the right, and then I'll get in this pipe. By the way that you can tell how well your pipe transitions, or how good your pipe transitions are, is one, because this level has a pretty tight timer. So the fact that I get in this pipe on the second that I do is pretty good. Like the fact that this says 264 means you're doing an excellent job on this level. But also you can look at how far the pipe is on screen. You want to be going in when the pipe is only about halfway on screen, and the more the pipe is on screen, the sort of slower you did the first section of the level. So the pipe is a really good visual cue that's easier to remember than the timer numbers to let you know how you're doing the transitions. In this last room, if you need it, for example, you're Small Mario but you're nervous about the Bowser fight, there is a hidden block here. You will only be able to get it if you start in this corner and run. You need a little bit of speed to get the height you need to hit that. But it is here with a mushroom if you need it, so that's just a good thing to be aware of. If you get to this point in the level, you're nervous, you're small Mario, go ahead and hit this mushroom. If you're large Mario, you can just jump from here and hit it vertically, and I do that for 5 points when I'm doing my any % runs. But the last part of this is a Bowser fight. It's not a very tricky one. You're sort of waiting for Bowser to do things. And since it is SMB1 Bowser, you can jump over his head without too much of a problem. The main thing, again, for this one for me is I want to hang out on the left until I need to go to the right, just so that Bowser is always throwing things in a way that's not going to get in the way of this final gold, axe. I don't want fire to be in the way of the axe, so I keep Bowser going left for a bit, and then I'll jump over him only when it gets close to being time for the axe. And I just sort of eyeball that. I don't have a good visual cue. And you'll notice that he starts moving to the right as well once you do that. So that's why you want to do it later. You don't want him on the right side of the screen. You want him closer to the left so that there's nothing standing between you and this final axe. 4 axes on auto-scrollers, by the way. I'm trying to get back to a spot where you can kind of see it. There's a chain that comes down from the axe. That's an excellent visual cue to let you know that you're close to the axe. I use that as my cue on when to jump, so that I'm in the axe's hitbox as soon as it's left enough on the screen for me to activate it. So that chain is a really good thing to keep an eye out for. For this one, I don't think there's anything that's really worth showing as a live demo. It really is just stay on the left side of the screen, get the safety mushroom if you want it, and then try to get those pipe transitions by looking at those gaps in the lava. The good news is then that brings us to the end of World 3, so congratulations everyone, 3 worlds down.